place right away.
That's a
I think it'll only be a couple of days before.
Oh, look, it really is. You know, after you left, the interest just went up like that, you know.
What do we have to do? Just keep
Well, we stand here and we're very quickly. Don, when do you want them upstairs?
Well, we can do that.
How do we... Okay, well...
Oh, somebody take the hill.
Welcome back aboard. They've got a lot of use yet.
Very cool.
You have to sort of look past it.
Okay. Well, how long have you? When did you actually leave Tahiti then?
5.5 hours ago, or a little more than that now. Yes, it's a 5.5 hour flight.
Yeah. Anybody there to see you off, or?
Yes, we had some friends that had entertained us for a few hours before we left.
What about the feeling there amongst the people? Were they aware of you?
There's quite a feeling being generated in Tahiti. This is sort of synchronized with the autonomy movement there, that's led by Francis Sanford, the deputy to the Tahitian Assembly there.
And how powerful is that?
Well, it's hard to really know. He's called for a referendum to be held in France on the issue of tests. This is actually, the tests have been the turning point, really.
First, let me ask you, how did you enjoy French hospitality? How were you treated?
Well, it was quite warm hospitality was extended to us, but, you know, we felt it was consistent with our action to, well, continue a fast for 12 days. That was to, well, sort of generate a leverage toward having the free released unconditionally, and the governor conceded the point after the 12th day. He said, you know, that restitution of the boat would be sort of, you know, forthcoming.
Now, you were an embarrassment to them there. How much did the general public know of your existence there and what was happening to you?
We had, the press were very close on every development, and, well, it was making sort of headlines in the Tahiti daily newspapers for the length of time that we were in the hospital there, and it sort of served to generate a very strong local awareness about the whole bomb test issue.
Can you just recall exactly what happened, briefly anyway, when the French boarded you and took you over?
Well, I think Dunkirk was the name of the vessel that came in first. Sent 3 officers over in an inflatable high-speed dinghy, came alongside, and we received them aboard. They had a note from the Admiral formalising the, a request for us to leave the zone, and we made a formal reply in writing that, you know, that we didn't acknowledge the danger zone. As far as we were concerned, it was international water, and this was returned. And then 3 warships came up over the horizon in close formation around the Free, and then a number of these inflatable boats were lowered away, and within 10 minutes there were 40 Marines on board the Free, and that was the sort of, well, commencement of the crisis situation.
Now, did you put up any resistance, and how was that met?
Yes, there was the... they were attempting to take the ship in tow, and the tow line was cut. They were using one of those firing devices to fire a tow line from the tug. They had a big deep-sea tug there, and when they made the hauling line fast to the ship, one of the crewmen, Martin Gauthier, the navigator, cut the line, and there, you know, it's very difficult to sort of, well, get a comprehensive view of what's going on the ship at this stage, because, you know, it's like a sort of football match. That's literally, the decks are packed with people moving around, and there's a very tense feeling on the ship.
Were you scared at any stage?
Yes, I was scared, frankly.
Well, what were you scared of?
Well, the obvious possibility of violence at any moment. Our crewmen, this was our home, and it was just being invaded, literally. And the natural sort of human responses, you know, and I could see that some of the crewmen were really angry.
What about the women? There were 2 other women as well as you. How did you feel about the situation and what happened?
Oh, I was very angry. Naomi was too. Emma just carried on her daily, duties just to keep calm, I think.
Yeah, now you're 7 months pregnant. How did the French react to that condition?
Well, they didn't know because I had a parka on, but they tried to take me by force once and put me down, so I just showed them my stomach and they let me go. But they were very nasty at times.
Now, if they hadn't boarded and taken you off, you would have stayed in the area despite all, would you? Even if there'd been an explosion?
Well, that's a difficult question to really answer. You know, we'd been there for 50 days when they boarded us in the zone, and I didn't really think that they would detonate a bomb.
But were you prepared to be exposed to radiation?
Well, let's say any one of those 50 days the bomb could have gone off. We had no means of knowing that it wasn't. But we, credit the French as being a sort of civilized nation.
Didn't you think you were exposing your wife to a pretty frightening situation? Or not so much your wife, perhaps, as the unborn child?
Well, I thought that the baby was the most protected one of all on board. But, the difficulty, of course, all along has been sort of separating the personal, emotional response to the situation and separating that from the kind of the extended gesture of the whole thing. It's sort of the issues at stake are really much bigger than the personal sort of...
Yeah, but the concern that has been voiced from New Zealand is more for the unborn child than anything, perhaps, and here it was in the area. Didn't you feel that in fact you were?
Well, we felt that by being there in this situation that we were so much more sort of representative of the people who are ultimately affected. That's why, in a sense, it was an important part of the action, not to be sort of traded on for just emotional reasons, but to sort of bring the point home that the planet has become too small for areas of it to be scarred and damaged by this sort of, they don't have that right. 32,000 square miles of international water were involved. That's the size of the area, and their territorial limits finish 12 miles out,
What is the situation there now? What's the morale like amongst the remainder of the crew?
I think it would be pretty high.
Do they intend to stay there or go back to the area?
We heard briefly today that they'd rendezvoused with the Spirit of Peace, which is going for the second time into the area, and reprovisioned them. Don't really know what's happening. I think it's likely that they'll come home because, you know, they must be pretty tired. It's been a pretty gruelling experience.
Have you got any intimation whether the tests are going to continue or whether they've reached a point?
It's really impossible to say. We've had